Hey everybody, welcome to 2.3 Solving Systems of Equations by Matrices, and this is the intro to it, so there will be at least one more video on this topic in this section. So it's important to note that I will be using the calculator in conjunction to doing this video, so I can't do both at the same time, but I can make a separate video of me showing how to type it into the calculator, and I'll link to that in the description, and if I can, maybe I'll put a link in the top right corner of the video. But make sure you check out that video because it's important to know how to write it down, and it's also important, equally as important, how to type it into the calculator because this is strictly a calculator unit, okay? So that being said, let's just get started. Let's go over some of the key points of what a matrix is. So a matrix is simply just a rectangular arrangement of numbers. What's inside the matrix are the numbers, of course, but they're called its elements. And so you have different matrix sizes. It's called the dimensions of a matrix. So it's read as an m by n, m rows by n columns. And so this is, we're going to make matrices out of these two problems, A and B. So matrix A would be a 2 by 3 matrix because it's got 2 rows of equations and 3 columns of data, an x column, a y column, and like a totals column. And then matrix B is a 3 by 4, 1, 2, 3 rows of equations, x, y, z equals column. So I have 4 columns there. So that's a 3 by 4 matrix. All right. So to input a matrix or to even create a matrix, your equations need to be in standard form, and that's something x plus something y equals c. And if it's 3 letters, then it's ax plus by equals cz plus cz equals d. It would just be like get all your letters on one side in order and then have it equal the constant number, the number that doesn't have any letters by it. And then when you type it in, it's important that you put these letters by it, R, R, E, F. That stands for reduced row echelon form. And so there's a way to do it by hand, but the calculator is trying to simplify the process. And the process is called reduced row echelon form. And so you just abbreviate it RREF. And you would open up some parentheses, and then you would type in your matrix in there. Again, I will go over that in a separate video link to this. Check the description or the top right corner if I can get a link up there. But for now, just pay attention to how I set these up. So these are in standard form already. I have x, y equals, my constant. So they're in order already. So to put this in a matrix, all you need to do is, you have your x column, you have your y column, you have your c column. It's called the c column for constant because it doesn't have any letters by it, okay? So you don't write any letters in your matrix. You have like an x row or an x column, but you don't write any x's. You just write the coefficients. So if there's not a number by it, there's a 1. And then if there's a negative by it, that's really important to include the negative. So the signs are important and the coefficients are important. The letters are not, just as long as it's in order. So this one says 4x plus 1y equals 2. So I'm just going to write a 4, a 1, and a 2. Again, I have like an x column, a y column, and then like a constant column. And then I have 1x minus 1y equals 3. So I'm just going to write 1, 1, negative 3. And this is my matrix. That's all it is right there. But we're going to type in the letters R, R, E, F, and then we're going to put it in parentheses. And we're going to get our answer from that. But don't forget to write in the negative because I almost forgot to do that. Because it was 1x minus 1y. So yeah, it's a negative 1 and a positive 3. Look at me, I'm all over the place. So negative 1, positive 3, that's what we're going to type in to our calculator. And then when you press enter, it'll give you your answer. And the answer is going to look something like this. it'll still give you the matrix, and it's going to say 1, 0, 0, 1, and then 1, negative 2. So when I was describing this to you as this is the x column, this is the y column, and this is a constant column, if you were to recreate an equation from this, it would say 1x plus 0y equals 1. In other words, it's just telling you that x equals 1, and then this says 0x plus 1y equals negative 2. So what that means is y is negative 2. So the 1 and the zeros are, your coefficients still. And it'll always go like this. It'll always have a bunch of 1s and zeros. The bigger a matrix is, you have a 1 and then a whole bunch of zeros after it. And then the next row there'll be a 0 and then a 1 and a whole bunch. So what it is each time you see a 1 followed by zeros, it's just telling you what that letter is going to equal at the very end. Okay, it's kind of, you need to see more examples. I feel like the more I explain it, the more confusing it sounds. But the answer to this is just 1 comma negative 2. All right. So looking at this one, it's in standard form because it goes x, y, z, x, y, z, x, y, z, and all the equals are constants. So I'm going to create my matrix. So it's important that we write down RREF first thing, so we don't forget to type that in, and then a parentheses. So our matrix is going to go in a bracket inside here. So in our x column, we're going to have a 5, a 1, and a 3. So I'll just write that 5, 1, 3. All right, and then my y column, I have 3, 2, negative 4. So I have 3, 2, negative 4. And then I have in my z column, negative 2, 3, and then a 1. Negative 2, 3, 1. All right, and then my c column, my constant column, 1, negative 1, 10. 1, negative 1, 10. So when you read it back, you should have like x column, y column, z column, c column. You don't have to label it up there, but I'm just trying to teach it to you. And then you can close the parentheses, and then you type that in, and the calculator is going to spit out your matrix answer. And so we get this. This is what we're going to get. You get this matrix here, and it says 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. So what that's saying is, before I write down the answers, x, y, z. So you notice you have 1x in this column, 1y in that column, 1z in that column, or row. Yeah, row, in that row. So that's telling you x is going to equal whatever number is going to come here, y will equal whatever number is going to come here, z will equal whatever number is going to come here. So this matrix in particular had kind of a weird answer. But we get 139 over 114 for x. You get negative 173 over 114 for y. And then for z, you get 31 over 114. But yeah, and then you can just restate it as an ordered triple, meaning put the x number first, y number second, z number third. And that's really all there is to it, okay? It's just knowing how to create your matrix, input it into the calculator, and then interpret the answer. So for my last two examples, I just want to go over how we're going to do the matrix if it's not in standard form, meaning the letters need to be in order. So we need to move some stuff around. So like if these two were in the reverse order, it would be in standard form, like if the negative 2x came first and the positive y came second. So if it's a positive y, I'm going to throw a plus sign in there, and then it'll equal 1. How can I get this equation into standard form? Well, I know I can add 12 to the other side, so I'm going to write x equals negative 3y plus 12. And then I know I can add 3y to the other side. And so I have x plus 3y equals 12. Now this one's in standard form. So I have this equation here, this equation there, They're in standard form, so I'm going to make my matrix now, and I'm going to say negative 2, and then 1y equals 1. Then I have 1x plus 3y equals 12. So there's my matrix. I'm going to put RREF on the outside, put it in parentheses, type that into my calculator. And the output matrix, or the answer is called the output matrix. This tells me I have 1x, say 0y, so x equals 9 over 7, 0x, 1y, so y equals 25 over 7. So I can just, rewrite the answer somewhere as an ordered pair, 9 over 7, comma, 25 over 7. And that's it. So I got one more example with example B. Let's take a look at that now. So here we can see that I have a 3 by 4 matrix because I have an x, y, and then I have a z column. Things are out of order, but you have x, y, and z. So we need to get everything in order. So 3x minus 4y equals 7 minus 2z. I know if I add 2z over, that's all I need to do on that one. So 3x minus 4y plus 2z equals 7. Remember, never combine these. These are not like terms. 3x plus 4y plus 2z, they cannot combine to make one singular number. They are all different terms. You can only combine like terms. So if you had like an x plus another x, you could combine it. But an x plus a y would always be stayed separately, okay? Turning our attention to this middle equation, I have two numbers that are both positive, but they're out of order. So if I just write 9x plus 3y, that's not changing anything per se, like I'm not making one negative or whatever, because they're staying on the same side. So I'm keeping the same signs, 9x plus 3y, but I don't have a z term, so what can I write? I can write a plus 0z and then equals 3. All right, so if you're missing a letter, but the letter appears in other equations, then you need to throw in a 0 for a placeholder there. All right, and then the third equation says 2x equals 2 plus z minus 4y. So that means I need to get that z and the minus 4y to the other side. So all I have to do there is just minus the z over and add the 4y over. All right, so I'm going to get this equation. I get 2x plus 4y, I'll write it in order, minus z equals a positive 2. All right, so I have my three equations, this one, and this one. I'm ready to make my matrix. I'm just going to write the coefficients. So I'm going to go 3, negative 4, 2, 7. So you want x, y, z, constant. X, 9, y, 3, z is 0, constant is 3. So let me make this matrix bracket a little bigger. And then I have 2, 4, negative, minus z is negative 1, and then that'll equal 2. And then I'm going to write on the outside of it RREF, and I'll put parentheses. Now this is ready to type into our matrix and get our output matrix. So let's see what that's going to look like. So my output matrix tells me that x is going to equal negative 7 over 5. I get all these weird answers because I'm just making up equations, and it's hard to get them. The more equations, the more variables you have, it's hard to get like nicer answers. But trust me, we've been doing it right. So I get x equals negative 7 over 5, y equals 26 over 5, and z equals 16. So I'll state my final answer here as an ordered triple. I'll just put the numbers in order. Negative 7 over 5 is x, 26 over 5 is y, and 16 is z. And that's going to draw these notes to a close. Please stay tuned for the video where I'm just typing these into the calculator to make sure you're doing it correctly. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.